welcome to Quackalope. Today we are going to give you a first impression / first thoughts on our Gloomhaven Draws of the Line campaign.
Yeah, we've actually started diving into a campaign of this. Now, I did play and cover this when it first came out, something like, I guess, over a year ago now.
Oh, wow, that's so long.
No, I mean, it is, with the amount of games we cover, and I remember being very charmed by it and excited to cover it back then.
Yeah.
And we just started an actual, official, full campaign that we were recording and playing through, and we thought we'd talk about it.
Cephalofair is who
Cephalofair.
Okay,
yeah.
That's who it's by.
We thought we'd talk about it. We've been featuring it and kind of hinting at it at our weekly vlog series, which comes out on the same day as today. So if you haven't checked that video out, go over there and swing. But this is just going to be our initial thoughts, first impressions. We're almost across Chapter 5.
Introduction to our characters.
We're almost across Chapter 5. All the first 5 episodes, which are the learning episodes, are going to be exclusives over on the Patreon. And then at the end of Chapter 5, when the campaign kind of officially starts, we're going to be bringing parts and pieces over here to the main YouTube channel so that you can follow along, even if you're not a Patreon member.
There'll always be some bonuses that will be going up on Patreon.
Yeah, like some of the side quests and stuff will be Patreon exclusive. We just unlocked one of those, too, which you're super excited about.
I got reminded about. We'll also probably be trying to paint our minis as well.
So let's talk about what Gloomhaven is for people that don't know. Now, granted, it's the #1 game of all time, and this is the little brother, the intro into the big box.
Yeah.
Gloomhaven's going to be one of the very first and most successful legacy games, where you're going to be adventuring, going through a dungeon crawl system, upgrading your characters, doing some really cool card play. And slowly adding stickers, ripping cards, destroying elements, fighting monsters, and kind of going down a narrative pathway or story. What did you know about Gloomhaven when we decided to play it? Because you're the one that picked this. I gave you... What options did I give you?
You gave me 8 games, I believe.
I think it was like Madara, Kingdom Death. What else was on there? Oathsworn, which hasn't arrived yet, so that wouldn't have been on there.
Yeah.
Seventh Continent was there.
Lots of
Gloomhaven
options.
was listed. A lot of campaign games. Etherfield's Tainted Grail.
Etherfield's is the one I was also interested in doing.
So maybe we'll pick that up soon?
Yeah.
But you chose Gloomhaven, why?
Because of the powers and abilities.
Really?
Yeah. The powers and abilities, the theme sounded really cool. I remember when I got into the hobby, I distinctly heard of this game that was #1 on Board Game Geek for the longest time. It's been, how long has it been
Years
#1?
now. Years.
It's been top rated for...
What was that?
I have a tickle.
Just go grab your Red Bull. Take a drink.
There's nothing left.
Oh, no. Well, what a dilemma.
It really is. So it's been ranked #1 for the longest time. And it was always like kind of the untouchable. Like, okay, it's so far out of my reach. It's really complex. Like, Board Game Geek rates it in the 3 and 4 rating. Yeah. The Jaws of the Lion is 3.5, I believe. And...
Is this one that high?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we are going through 5 episodes to learn how to play it.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I picked it. I wanted to pick something that was kind of a little heavier and see if I could wrap my mind around it. The characters looked fun. The intro it gave, I looked them all up on Board Game Geek, looked at their ratings, and looked at the intros, and kind of looked at the artwork, and that was how I made my decision.
So, what do you think so far? Like, we're going to do a full review at the end of this campaign, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But right now, being brand new to Gloomhaven... What do you think of the systems, the cards, the what we're doing in the game?
I like it. I like how a game this complex actually gives you 5 training scenarios to introduce you to all the mechanics.
That's something that Jaws of the Lion specialized in, as opposed to Gloomhaven, the big box brother, who just gave you a rule book full of text.
Yeah. So the rule book actually is really helpful. I was the one who started reading it, and then as we've been playing through the scenarios, we've been reading more and more on camera and kind of delving into it. I really am enjoying that teaching process. Sometimes heavy games just give you a really, really heavy book, and you're kind of like, I don't know what to do with this. I have to set it up, kind of fiddle around with it. This has just been walking us through in preparation for the official
And the scenarios
chapters.
have still been fun.
Yeah, they have been fun.
Yeah.
They're not exactly a walk through the park. You managed to try and die on most of them.
Most of them?
Most of them.
Okay.
You're not very good at keeping yourself alive. So
I'm a glass cannon. We'll get into that later.
So I've been enjoying it a lot. I like the teaching process. I love the artwork. I love the different variety in monsters and things that we're going to be fighting, things that we have fought. They're all very thematically appropriate.
Gloomhaven does some cool stuff where it's characters that feel familiar, but you also have some unique elements and traits to them. Like, who really knows what a Quatryl is and why they like blowing things up?
That reminds me of Groot, honestly.
Does.
Every time I see it, it reminds me of Groot. I'm a Red Guard. This reminded me of a little bit of a devil. And it's red, so, I couldn't go too far.
When it comes to Gloomhaven so far, there's going to be a few core elements, and I'm curious what you think of them so far.
Okay.
There's going to be the card play, which is a high-low cycling through your hand of cards. You're going to be making, every time it's your turn to go, you're going to be playing 2 cards from your hand. You're then going to activate 2 of 4 abilities available on those cards, one of which is going to be a top-level attack or powerful ability, one of which is going to be a bottom level, typically a movement or collect resource type of ability. And that interplay is really where a lot of the complexity in the game comes from. So far we've been scaled up. We're now getting to our full abilities and decks and starting to gain levels, which is giving us more powers as we grow.
We're also being able to construct our own decks.
We are.
Point forward.
From this point forward,
we
get to choose.
And we can kind of
What do you think of that card play so far? Because I have to say it's probably my favorite part of what the Gloomhaven system is.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's actually one of the parts that frustrate me the most because
Really?
I want to do like 2 attacks at once or 2 moves at once. I don't want to always do an attack and a move, and that's kind of how my deck has been pretty much organized. I haven't had as much moves as I would like. So that is a little frustrating.
Is that frustration good, though? Is that a good challenge?
Yeah, it is. It is. Ultimately, it's good. It makes me think. It makes me try and work around the box, get some gear upgrades and items so that will allow me to kind of increase my abilities and stuff. It's good. It was just initially frustrating in the beginning because I was like, I have these cards and I can't really do much right now. Obviously, you can always use it for the basic ability, but that feels so silly. Once you get like these really powerful cards, you're like, I'm using this for 2 movement.
But for me, when I get to do something big, I really, really love what's happening. Now, it might be that I'm enjoying my character more than you initially.
Yeah. I like your character a lot in the initial bouts.
I gave you the opportunity to steal him.
I know. So I did look at the character description on the inside, and this one has a lot to do with the monsters and controlling them. And I really love monsters. So I kind of want to see where this one grows.
You've done some really cool things when it comes to manipulating and moving other characters around the board.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm the one that's running around and blowing things up.
And then dying in the process.
How dare you. So the other element of Gloomhaven, outside of the card play, is going to be the dungeon crawl mechanics. Have you ever played a dungeon crawl before? I know you've played things like Zombicide, which are going to be dungeon crawl-esque, or Cthulhu Death May Die.
I was about to say Cthulhu Death May Die. I think I played Reichbusters one time. There's another one that is blinking in my mind. Something like along the lines of Cthulhu.
Okay. So you've played a fair
some.
share of dungeon crawls.
Yeah.
Is this one doing anything different so far? Like, where does it rank in terms of dungeon crawl mechanics?
I don't believe there's much dice.
There's no dice.
So it's a lot more controllable.
Not a single die.
You have decks instead of dice, which adds the randomness into it, but
those are just modifiers, though, and they're modifiers that can introduce a miss or a double, but for the most part, they're adding 1 or 2 in either direction.
Yeah, except mine, I frequently draw the misses all the time. I really need to start getting those out of my deck.
And the game's starting to give us control over that. So it's not only there's no dice, there's also controllable luck mitigation.
Yeah. So I like that aspect. Sometimes dice feels really helter-skelter, and it could be like, well, it's the luck of the dice.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the luck of the draw with the cards, but I feel like it's almost a little bit more mitigatable.
Yeah, it feels a little different.
You can also add curses and blessings in throughout the game that can also modify that attack deck.
It gets a little bit less controllable and more uncomfortable when that happens. No, that's a really good point. For me, the dungeon crawl is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It is move, solve the puzzle, hit the enemy. One of the interesting things, though, is even right now in the early game, it's an actually frustrating challenge. Like, we've had multiple occasions now where it's come down to the wire on the same scenario, which means mathematically, whatever the puzzle is and wherever our skill level is,
it's pretty on par.
It's on par.
It's matched.
I feel like we earned our victory. And what I've heard from other players of Gloomhaven is that oftentimes that's the case. You feel like you've earned your victory.
Another thing that they're introducing are personal objectives. In addition to the objectives, the first couple scenarios were kind of just like kill all the enemies. This last scenario that we played actually had objective tokens that we had to interact with, destroy, in addition to all the enemies. And that also made more monsters spew and populate throughout the game. So it was like, oh, we have a really great control, and then all of a sudden there's a lot more golems and people coming at us.
Yeah.
So that's interesting as well.
Yeah, I do know that majority of Gloomhaven is going to be the same sequence of events, though.
Yeah.
Show up, objectives, creatures, fight, kill, destroy, collect things, and figure out that puzzle, the mathematical puzzle, and then go back home. There's not typically a lot of scenario-based environmental puzzles.
But the monsters all have different abilities.
They do.
Like, some of them curse you, some of them muddle you, they just do different things to you. Some of them poison you.
Which is a new challenge.
Yeah, so it does change the configuration, especially as they level up as well. As we're going to level up, I'm assuming the monsters are going to level up, become stronger, have more shields, and that sort of thing.
So the other element for me is going to be the writing. What do you think about the story so far? Are you interested? Are you engaged at all in it?
Actually, surprisingly not. It's not pulling me in.
I'm gonna throw a surprise out there in your direction.
What?
Not surprising. Gloomhaven hasn't been known for its story. Like, it has some theme. It has cool characters.
Yeah.
I feel very attached to my little Quatryl down here. But the story itself has never been the big selling point. So I'm not surprised to hear you say that.
As we continue reading things along, and as it gives the little introduction, I'm like, yeah, what are we trying to do this time? Or like, as we put new stickers on the map and unlock new spots.
That's fun.
It doesn't, I like putting perfect stickers on the map, but it doesn't feel very, like, thematic. Yes, we got a side quest, and yes, it was on the other side of the board, but kind of like in a different scenario, I might have wanted to be able to reach the side quest. It would have taken a longer time to get there because it's so far away. It's literally on the opposite side of the board. So the physical locations don't seem to make much sense.
Yeah, I have enjoyed elements of the writing. Okay. I found some of it to be interesting, but never captivating.
Yeah.
I actually like the town event cards quite a bit.
I do like the town events. Those I listen to, because they give you a choice to how to interact with it.
And I like that choice. Both the ones we've listened to so far have been cool.
Yeah.
And I do like our characters. I really do. I feel like we're real things in a world that isn't quite fleshed out.
On that note, do you want to introduce your character?
Very soon.
All right.
Very soon. The last thing I want to hear is any strong complaints so far. Anything you're really just not liking about Gloomhaven. That might, like, that could be little middling things, or could be like, are we going to make it through 20 more episodes?
Right now, it's just a little middling things. It's a little finicky remembering when you got a certain effect played on you, when you got a curse, when you got a ignore movement, when you got a muddle or a poison, and then remembering its effects, remembering the monster's shields. It's a little technical at some points, and that's kind of my main complaint right now.
So let them in, Max. You don't like missing things either, whereas I'm just like,
I like getting things done correctly and accurately. So that's kind of the main frustration I've had so far. But other than that, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. I am too. Right now I could commit to another 20 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm having a fun time. It's been fun to play. Yeah. I'm really enjoying being able to go through a campaign on the channel here. And so that's been thrilled. And it's great to have someone that's actually able to like sit down and dedicate and dive into a campaign with me.
Yeah.
Let's introduce our characters and then let people know where they can watch. So the very first episode should be up in the next day or so over on Patreon. And then the next 5 or 6 or 7, depending on how many times we fail getting through Chapter 5, will be up there over the course of the next week or so. And then starting here, I believe in the next week, maybe 2, will be episode 6 and sort of a recap and a beginning to our Gloomhaven adventure.
And then are we going to do weekly or bi-weekly postings of the episodes?
It really depends.
That can really take half a year, 20
It really
episodes.
Depends on how much we're filming and how much we're putting out.
Yeah.
I would love to do weekly episodes.
Okay.
But it depends on the audience, it depends on the engagement, depends on a bunch of things.
Cool.
So, I mean, if we get 5 episodes in on the main channel and people just aren't tuning back in, then there's a chance that we make it Patreon exclusive if we have an audience there, or we finish playing the game, do a full review ourselves, spend a weekend doing that, and then dive into another campaign.
Yeah.
It really, really genuinely depends on them.
Okay.
I'm playing it no matter what. Just
if
they want me to spend, about 100 hours editing through it. You want to read first? Or you want me to go?
I'm a little completionist, so I do want to finish it as well. I will read first.
Okay.
Valrath Red Guard. Though their demon-like qualities makes them feared by many, Valraths are, for the most part, well-mannered and gentle. preferring to solve problems through diplomacy rather than violence. They come from a dark and bloody heritage of genocide and warfare, and as they have become more civilized, have simply made concerted efforts to put their past behind them. Valraths pride themselves on being able to integrate themselves peacefully into human society, often becoming wealthy merchants or influential politicians. Not every Valrath can be peaceful, however. There is a special caste in the Valrath capital of Jinda, tasked with protecting the city. It is a prestigious position, and one not easily lived up to. Outcast from Jinda for unknown crimes, the Red Guard found it too difficult to part from their identity as a protector, keeping the distinctive red armor, as well as their chained sickle and shield. The only place to find work was as a mercenary in Gloomhaven, and maybe, just maybe, by standing on the front lines and keeping their allies from harm, the Red Guard will find some way to redeem themselves. Not in the eyes of Jinda culture, which has permanently turned its back, but at least within their own esteem. Reading it now, after we've played a few games, it kind of makes a little bit more sense with my cards. They're a lot more protective versus you just bouncing around the board doing melee onslaughts. A lot of my cards are ranged, which is another thing that that was like another thing I forgot about, but I struggle with. I don't like staying far away. I kind of like going forward, but I'm learning how to do the ranged thing.
Yeah, we'll see. And Gloomhaven's interesting. In the core box, there is a progression where you can actually switch from one character to another depending on when you level up. I don't know if that's a feature of this. Okay. It may not be, but just
I'd be
to
curious
know. There's
about
definitely
the other two.
There's definitely other characters you can play eventually or now. So we'll see. Quatryl Demolitionist. Because of their diminutive size, Quatryls feel they have a lot to prove. From an early age, they are encouraged to study as much as possible about many different subjects. Though there are experts Quatryls in any field, they seem to have a particular affinity to engineering and machinery. Their long, delicate fingers allow them to build all manner of intricate contraptions to make life easier and augment the inferior physical strength. Though they are not numerous, Quatryls can be easily integrate themselves into any society due to their expertise in critical fields and their charming, graceful demeanor. Only a fool would shun a Quatryl's offer to help. Even when augmenting themselves with machines of their own creation to destroy anything that stands in their path, Quatryls will still do it with charm and flair. Though they may be small, Demolitionists don't hold them back in the least. Between their rocket boots, a multitude of bombs, and giant piston fists, they are a force to be reckoned with. Sometimes the only path forward is the one they create themselves. In such cases, it is best just to get out of their way.
Path create themselves. You have the powers to destroy obstacles.
I know, and it
is a lot more thematic.
Fun.
I actually appreciate reading these as we've mid-game.
Nice. So that's going to be first impressions, our initial thoughts on Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. Let us know if you're excited for a campaign and excited for more campaigns coming here to the channel.
And suggest some that you kind of want us to see played. I know we threw out a bunch of names over there, but if you have any preferences, let us know.
Yeah, if there's enough demand in the community, we'll make it happen. We're working to get KDM up and running here soon because I know there's a big audience that have been hungry for that.
Yeah.
And it's just a beast of a game. You need someone that's going to show up and be able to play it with you consistently and consecutively. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Whatever the case, whatever you do.
Remember to do the important thing.
Get out and play some games.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Have a good one.